Hello, Georgetown. I'm Beverly Enos, and you're watching Spotlight Georgetown. You can find us Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on your local cable station. Now, if you want to become involved in anything to do with the cable station, they have equipment. They'll train you. You can think up anything that you want and come down. They'll let you use the equipment and go from there. So if you want to be part of what you pay for in your bill, you may as well make it here to the studio. Now today we're talking to Superintendent Carol Jacobs, and we haven't seen her for a while, and there's lots of new things going on in Georgetown.
I know, it's very busy, but all in a good way. We were very excited this fall to open the new Pembroke School. That was a great community event. We spent the better part of last year planning for every transition we could possibly think of, and then you can only imagine when the school opened, there were things we hadn't thought about. But it's all good, and we had a ribbon cutting ceremony a couple of Saturdays ago with dignitaries and people from the MSBA, who've been our partner, 50%
MSBA
funding,
stands for
Massachusetts School Building Authority,
Okay.
and they are 50% partners in the Pembroke School project.
So that happened when we were bringing the money issues up at town meeting.
That's correct. That when we put our statement of interest, we had to be approved by the MSBA
Right.
that we were in significant need. And the whole process from design to construction, the MSBA has been right there every step of the way, sharing in the decision making. And so that's been very exciting.
And sharing in the money?
And sharing in the money, which is beautiful for
that's
Georgetown.
yeah.
But it was really nice. I mean, Representative Muir, Senator Tarr sent a proclamation, which we're happy to, house in the school. And we had a very successful community open house in August. I have never seen so many people in one place at the same time, but it was so wonderful to hear the comments. I was so anxious to share this school with the community because for so many years now we've been sort of talking about it and working on it, and I know it's a significant investment of money, and for that we're beyond grateful.
How long have you actually been working on this?
Well, I came here in 2007, and
that answers one of my next questions.
2007, and at that time, the project that had been on the table prior to my coming was on hold, and there had been a moratorium in funding from the MSBA. It actually reinvented itself. The state, restructured and reorganized the way it was done, and made a commitment to have funding coming out in a much more timely fashion, which has happened. It's been a big improvement. But anyway, in 2009, we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have our statement of interest approved. And so we've been working on this project with the town and with the MSBA since 2009. So it's 6 years in the making, but well worth it. Another thing we're working on is the middle high school renovation. We are still working on that. We'll be done.
You've been working on that since I went to high school there.
Yes. Well, they've had several iterations there, right? Back
Yes.
to the 1996 renovations of the high school, and
I was there in the 70s and they were renovating.
yes. Well, I've recently seen some old
60s,
pictures when it
60s.
was when the school and the gym were sort of standalone buildings.
That's
and
where I was there.
Wow, I look at it now and it is so different. But the new renovations to the middle high school are putting in some new spaces in that shop area. So finally, Laura LaFlamme, our wonderful choral teacher, will not have to be having her teaching station on the stage. She will actually be able to move into a choral music room. We'll also have a theater arts room, and there are a number of spaces that have been increased. Our special ed program spaces have been upgraded significantly, which they really needed to be. And that project will hopefully wrap up at the end of November. Of course, we're very excited about our brand new turf field. That is an amazing resource for this school.
This is the football field.
Yes.
The old football
Well,
field.
actually, it's the old football field, but it's lined for field hockey, lacrosse, soccer. There's a baseball diamond there, and when I tell you that is used constantly.
And this is all artificial turf.
All artificial turf, and
which means no mud, no
which
drainage
means
issues.
no mud and
No parking on it.
Correct, no parking, and obviously there are a few rules like, no food other than water, and food and drink other than water. No animals because of obvious reasons, So that, that's a little harder for people, but I think the fact that it's a resource for this town to be used, and it is used constantly, we're so excited to have it.
I'm picturing it in my mind. The part that was turfed, is it that whole area?
The whole area.
Even under the bleachers and everything?
Mm-hmm. The whole area. Even the baseball field is turf.
Wow.
So it's all turf, all artificial material, and what it's doing is, because people have been able to use it, it's allowing us to actually upgrade all the other fields, which haven't been able to be done in the Pembroke.
Because now they have a rest.
That's right. Now they can rest. And the Pembroke fields have recently been seeded, but there will be. If you haven't gone up there, you really should take a ride.
I have taken a ride. That was one of my questions. I drove up there,
yes,
and I saw the new school.
Yes.
And then I looked at the old Pembroke, and there's a big claw thing, pulling it apart,
yes,
and putting it into dump trucks and piles.
Right. That's right.
And then they're regrading all of the old t-ball and baseball and all of the other things facing what used to be the Pembroke on the left side.
That's right.
So what's all that going to be?
So all of that is going to be fields. So there are two brand new fields that in the area that where the old fields were, and there's actually a little plateau, and at the top of the plateau, because that's organic material, when the school was being constructed, one of the things they discovered was there was additional dirt that they had to decide what to do with it. In order to move it off-site, it would have cost the town another $2 million. So the decision, correctly and rightly and frugally, responsibly so, was to figure out a way to take care of that dirt on site. So the third field is, because it's really that organic material, it's not being done as a field similar to the others, because you can't compact it the same way.
Okay.
But it would still be
little mesa.
Little mesa, but it would be sufficient for like little kids playing flag football or a little t-ball, league for little children. And then
people of less weight than would be the older kids that would be really gouging into it.
Yes, and then where the school is going to be a full-size soccer/lacrosse size field, which was needed in town, because when we tried to decide what we wanted to put there, we actually met with all the groups in town who had an interest in fields and said, okay, let's look at what we have. We've always said there wasn't enough fields in town. What do we need? This is our opportunity. So there's an additional pony size, which is not full major league size, but not little league size either. So that there's going to be a baseball field and then a full soccer field there. So it'll be actually a huge asset, and those fields will come online in the summer of 16, maybe the fall for some, because they're getting the seed in a little later than they had hoped, because this is the growing season. Now the summer's not the time to be planting field.
I've run through that. You can't be planting in August, because all it's going to do is dry up, and
that's right. That's it. So when you miss the first opportunity, you have to go to the second, and again, I think it's short-term pain for long-term gain. I think it's going to be resources that the town has needed and has longed for quite a while. Okay,
now back to the middle high school.
Yep.
That is now high school.
It's 7 through 12.
7 through 12. So in my terminology, that would have been junior high school and high school.
That's right.
So the middle school, the middle kids, the 6th, 5th, and 6th graders are back.
Correct.
At Pembroke. So we've got 7 through 12.
That's right.
At the high school. Now, at one point, one of the floors was primarily for the middle part of the high school. Is that still for like the 7th and 8th graders?
The 7th and 8th grade for their core academics are still on the 3rd floor.
Okay.
And then, as they've always had to do for certain subjects, they've had to travel throughout the school. So that still happens. Because we needed to increase our special ed rooms and give them a more prominent space, we also added a conference room and a few other spaces that we desperately needed. Plus, I told you the choral room and the band, the choral room and the theater arts room. We have some high school classes on the other side of the 3rd floor, so we have expanded into the 3rd floor with some high school classes. But generally speaking, the middle school has still their own core of areas for their
for the 7th and 8th
grade. And then the 6th grade, as you said, is at the elementary school now. And so we have K through 6.
That brings up the very next question.
Yep.
So what happened with Pearly?
So Pearly is actually one of the nice things that's happened, which is what I had when I had suggested moving the K. I moved the K because I believe programmatically it's the right thing to do. Nowadays, with the standards being what they are, kindergarten is more like first grade was maybe when we went to school.
It's not like a preschool
It's
anymore.
not like a preschool. If it were like a preschool, if that were the case, I probably would have made some thoughts. I would have had some thoughts to leave it there. But you only get one bite at the apple on something like this. So, you know, my recommendation, and I'm thankful that people went along with it, was to move the K to the elementary school. So what that did is it left Pearly with something we didn't have in the town, which was space.
Yay!
To do some other things. So what I did was I moved the all of the central office people, which is the curriculum director, the special education director. The business office was always there,
right.
And then I was always there. The technology office and the maintenance office, we centralized them. So if you come over, I'll be happy to give you a tour. But
yes, because I didn't get to be there in August.
Right, but my office is now moved over to where the principal's office was. So Laura, my assistant, is where the secretary was. I'm in the principal's office, and then we have a conference room. And then this, my office, the one that I was in, is a conference room for special education. And then the curriculum director has the upstairs of the school, which, so now when we do professional development and training, we don't have to close the library at the middle high school. We have actual spaces. And in fact, I've told all the town departments, and I'm saying it on your show, that, you know, sometimes having meeting space in town can be a challenge, particularly even here. So, you know, anyone who wants to use our schools, particularly Pearly in the upstairs, if they just let us know,
it's a town facility.
It's a town facility, and we're happy to make those spaces available. In fact, I was joking the other day that if they wanted to put another television studio in there, I'd be available to talk about that. So we moved the central office into the sort of the core of the building. And then, of course, our preschool is still in that building, because one of the things that was very important is the Pearly Trust Agreement that the town has, says that the town can continue to use that facility as long as it's for educational purposes.
So you have to keep some kids there.
Mm-hmm. So
for some reason.
So which is perfect. We love it because, you know, keeps us grounded with the kids. We do miss the kindergarten and grade 1 students, you know, going up and down the hallways, but the preschool is there, and it allows us to have sort of a preschool center. So it's a nice knit home.
What area would that be in?
In the same space that it was in. So if you were to go down by the gym, the preschools have always been sort of along the back. That was part of the 1996 renovation, was to create preschool and kindergarten rooms. So what we've done in those spaces is we expanded our preschool. So we're using all of those spaces. And we have an before and after school program that we use for the room on the end.
Right.
As well as we let early intervention for students who are very, very, the little itty bitties that need services before they come to school. That space is available for early intervention. And we also have some speech and language services that we are able to deliver. So we schedule the room carefully, but it's a room that allows us that swing space that we wouldn't have.
Now, the part that I've heard the most about, or I'm the most interested in, because I teach in senior centers.
Yes. Oh, you do? I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. I teach 6 classes a week in senior centers throughout the area. Is there going to be a senior center there?
Yes. Yeah, we're very excited about that. Well, I mean, from my perspective, there's going to be a senior center there. We have a meeting coming up pretty soon to talk about the memorandum of understanding, because you should have an agreement. And I know we've hosted many architects and people from the Council on Aging and, you know, folks in town that are interested in this to try to determine how the space could best be used and utilized. And of course, Colleen has been very involved in that process. So yes, we're very excited about it. I think originally the hope was it was going to be able to open in January of the new year, but that looks like it's going to be delayed now because there's going to be some discussion about this at the upcoming special town meeting. I think the initial projection of the cost to do some of the things to it was a little higher than people were comfortable with. So I think they've got a plan B, and
Okay.
excited about that. But the plan B would probably mean that it wouldn't probably be available till sometime in the spring, which is fine. Again, you want to have
Yeah.
it right.
You want it
you want to
right.
have a plan, and you want to make sure when
All
the
the
seniors
ducks
move
in a row.
Well, you want to make sure when the seniors move in, it really is a nice space.
And that whole area is all handicapped accessible.
It is.
It's wheel in the door.
It is. It's
all what used to be, when my kids were in school, used to be the first grade wing.
Yes.
Which has been things other than that since then. But it's also accessible right into the cafeteria.
That's correct. So what we've been talking about is, yes, it has an elevator in the building, and there's a kiosk entrance, which is all handicap accessible. But what we've been talking about is, sharing some space, because I know sometimes the seniors have birthday parties and
Yeah.
special celebrations. So the cafeteria space could be shared. We've also said that the gym, obviously, we don't use the gym 100% of the time. That would be a shared space. That would be no problem. And then there would be 5 designated spaces of the 7 that are down there. To start, the 5 designated spaces, one of which Colleen wants to create offices in for her, for her work and her office staff. And then there'll be 4 program spaces. Which is very exciting, because I know she's got plans to have some craft space, space for exercise, which of course the gym could be used too, but for exercise, she's got all kinds of exciting plans, So, and then we are keeping 2 rooms right now, which we're hoping we can some ways work with the seniors on, because we have needs for a working space for our technology staff, because we often will have machines that we're fixing, and we have more technology in the schools, so we anticipate that, and we do have a technology director now, so he needs a space to work out of. And then we have our maintenance department also, and Mike has some spaces down there where he can store some things, and they can work out of. So the advantage, I think, for the seniors there is that Mike, I envision, would be working closely with the senior center to help with the maintenance, because obviously we're going to be sharing that responsibility for the building. And then Wes, who's our technology director, having him close, would also be probably helpful. We do have a computer lab upstairs with laptops. We've said the seniors are more than welcome to use. But maybe Wes could do some classes for people. Having somebody sort of right there in that hallway that could be an asset, to the seniors. So we didn't want to put students down there, because we really want it to be the senior space.
Yes.
Because it really does. But it does lend.
It does need to be separated.
It does, but it does lend itself with the preschool in the room, in the school, to maybe do some intergenerational things that might be appropriate. We have done that in the past. We've had seniors come and be guest readers for our students, and we had some
adopt
pen
a grandparent.
pals. Exactly. So
one of the centers I teach in does an adopt a grandparent every year, and they're
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah. So I think there's some very exciting things for the town, and had we not had the new school, and had we not done the grade configuration, we wouldn't have had wouldn't have afforded us the opportunity to now do something that the town has needed and wanted and hasn't had the space for.
Right.
So,
and that would be 5 days a week instead of
it could
3 half days.
It could be as many days as they wanted, because it would be their designated space. And we've already talked about, our guys will paint it all, and we'll, shine up the floors, because if you remember, the roof collapsed in that area.
Yes.
But when the roof collapsed, one of the things that happened was the temporary roof didn't hold in a very bad storm, and so it made it necessary to replace all the tiles, all the ceiling tiles, all the floor tiles.
So now everything is brand new.
Everything is new. So
that was only 2 years ago.
You're right. It could use a touch up for paint and the floors, but we'll do all that. And then the other thing is, because we have additional furniture, because the Pembroke project bought some new furniture, we have actually got tables and chairs and things that Colleen can use in the senior center. So we're trying to, work in partnership to save as much of the cost of setting, the center up as we can. So, yeah, we're all very excited about it.
Oh, that'll be fun.
I think it'll be lots of fun. And maybe you'll teach there. Or
nice to teach in your own town. Projects.
Or work on your other projects.
One of the projects that they have in one of the other centers I teach in is they have a senior prom.
Oh, how fun.
And it's the seniors from the high school.
Okay.
And it's the week of their prom, so the
Okay.
guys still have their tuxes and the girls still have their gowns.
Yeah.
And they go and they have a senior prom with the seniors.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah.
It
well,
really is.
you know, we're like I said, we're very
And that's
open.
That's going to have the space to accommodate
Oh,
just about
absolutely.
anything that they want to do.
Right. And Colleen had, thought maybe if she needed a meeting space, we're like, hey, we have meeting space upstairs. You're more than welcome
Yeah.
to use that. So I think, again, I think it solves a number of, the town's challenges. And, it has created space for like the basement for us to store things. And, we were always feeling kind of cramped. And this is actually helpful not only for the schools, but for the town.
Yeah,
So.
the elders I know have been really
I
cramped.
know. They
a long
have.
time.
They have. I think they deserve it. And if we can, make the facility, available, why wouldn't we?
And when you think of it in another context, these are the people that have paid
That's right.
their taxes
That's right.
all the years they've lived in town, that
right.
have paid for all the new schools for the young
Absolutely.
children, all the upgrades for the middle high school,
That's
all the
right.
upgrades for
Yep.
the new Pembroke.
It's very true.
And they get a turn now.
And they get a turn. And it's not a brand new facility, but I think
Doesn't need to be.
when we get done with it, it'll look very nice.
It will be
and
theirs.
It'll be theirs. It'll be clean. It'll be,
Yeah.
and again, we're good neighbors. We've always believed, at least I've always believed, that the schools are for the community. They're community resources, and so this is a great opportunity for us to work in partnership and expand the work we've already done.
That's fun.
Yes, it's exciting.
The schools have recently received a recognition. I've been
We
watching
did.
the papers. You've actually received a few of them
We
over the last few months.
we have, which is very exciting. Yes, we found out that Newsweek magazine had listed us in their top 500 school districts in the country, which was very exciting. We were 278th, I believe. And they do have a set of criteria, that they look at. But that was very exciting. And then Boston Magazine, shortly after that, came out with their sort of annual, they always do it in the fall. They look at the schools in the greater Boston area. And again, they have like 4 or 5 criteria, including things like MCAS results, class size numbers, student-teacher ratio, per pupil expenditures, and 4 or 5 different criteria. And AP scores, I think, was one of them. And again, we were 62nd on that
Wow.
list, which
Little town like
which
Georgetown.
we were very happy about. And then finally, we have the advanced placement scores came out, and we were first actually in the state with our AP scores. So we were very happy, with
Now,
all
can you
of those.
explain to people what an AP score is?
AP,
A lot
sure.
of people.
Advanced placement testing is, so we expect when a child in our school district takes an advanced placement course. And that is like, I guess the best way to describe it is it's a college level course.
That they do in high school.
That's right. So if you are able to take AP classes and do well in them, that's a pretty good indicator that you're going to be well prepared for college and should be able to go in and do very well. So we offer 7 advanced placement courses, in a couple in history, English, science, Spanish, math. And students can take those classes, and if the way it works is some places will allow the students to take the course, but they don't have to take the test. We don't allow that. If you take the course, you take the test. And so if you get a 3, 4, or 5, then that's what you're shooting for. Again, if you get a 3, that means you're performing solidly and can do college level work. We have a large percentage. I mean, our average score in each of those is always in the 4s or 5s. In fact, our history scores in our AP government scores have been pretty much every student who's taken the test has gotten a 5. In fact, we were teasing Mr. Chris DeFranco, who's the teacher, that one year one student got a 4. And what was he doing? Why was he slipping, So, I think those courses are very rigorous, and we're happy to have the opportunity to challenge.
Plus, the
students
schools do a
at
lot
that
with bringing the high school kids into the town government, into Boston.
That's right.
Into foreign governments.
Right.
Into other projects other than just what goes on in Georgetown.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's important for the kids from a small town
Oh,
to
to
understand
see.
that it's a great big world out there.
Oh, it's a great big world out there. That's right. Every year I have the superintendent's award I have to give out. I always say it's my toughest decision, but one of my best decisions, because I talk to the top 5 kids in the class. And one of the things that it's really fun for me to learn about is what do they feel have been the best things about Georgetown as they've gone through their 13 years. And, you know, going out the door, what do they think they'd recommend for improvements? What would they like more of? And, you know, I think they always, most of the time they'll say the best things about Georgetown are the fact that it's small and they know everybody, and the teachers are, you know, the type that take real interest in them, and they feel like they have relationships. But they also say one of the most challenging things about it is it's small, and you know everybody knows
you, and everybody knows your business, and everybody knows your parents.
Very true. But you know, I think I'm never disappointed in what kids have to offer. I think it's amazing what they're capable of today, and what they'll do if you give them the opportunities to do them.
I graduated from Georgetown High School just the last few years, and then my children both went 13 years.
Yep.
So again, it was what happens next. Do you want to stay the big fish in the little pond?
Right.
Or do you want to go to a big college and be the little fish in the big pond? And so many of the kids decide that they want their education to travel with them, just like Georgetown.
Yep.
They want something that feels comfortable and is family oriented, and that people will actually know their names and they don't become a number.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I mean, the millennials, they're called today, you know, these millennial kids, you know, they travel the world, they you know, they're not inhibited by, you know, all the opportunities, you know, that afford them. You know, it's really quite amazing, you know, and the world's their oyster, and they're not afraid to go after it, you know. So our job is to prepare them for it. And one of the things, the great things that I get to hear is, you know, is from the children who graduate, and they come back and they say, Mrs. Jacobs, I am so excited that I went to Georgetown because I was so prepared for college. I mean, we have students at Brown, we have students at, you know, St. Anselm's, you know, many students that take time to drop me a note and say, you know, I'm so grateful for my education
students that
in
go
Georgetown.
for their masters.
We have a lot of
for
students.
their PhDs.
Oh yes, we have a lot of students. That's one of the things that we're trying to do a better job of, is staying in touch with alumni, because you know, when I look at you know, some of the things that some of the kids are doing when they tell us about it, it's like, wow. And then, you know, we have something like, we dedicated our field to former coach and teacher Jim Collymore.
Oh, yes.
And that was such a wonderful evening, and his family was so grateful. But it was like a reunion that night. I have never,
imagine.
the line was so far up the sidewalk for people to come.
He was there when I was there.
Well, you know,
Which is a long time ago.
You know, when you're in education, I guess in any field, but when you're in education, one of the things you always hope is you're going to have a legacy. You know, that, you know, you don't always know what impact you make during the time you're doing it, but when you're done, you know, if you've got people who come back and talk about you like they talked about Jim Collymore and the contributions he made, you know what, you know you've done it right. And so it was great. And that's one thing that's nice about Georgetown, is you can always come home.
It is.
You know, you can leave, but you can always come home.
My daughter tells the story that when she was deciding after her bachelor's what to do,
Yeah.
and she had thought about going into physical therapy, and then she said, Mom, I'm going to be a teacher. I said, where did that come from? She said, I want to be a teacher like Mrs. Morehouse.
I know. Oh, yes, Barbara, she's phenomenal.
I want to be a teacher like Mrs.
Yes.
Morehouse.
Yes.
Because she made a difference in my life.
Mm-hmm. That was the comment that, you know, I always do like a little back to school welcome, and that's the conversation that I had with the teachers this year was, you know, what does it mean to make that difference? You know,
Yeah.
what can we do? You know, I also talked about the book Who Moved My Cheese, because we're constantly having to do state initiatives and a few other things. So it's like our cheese is moving all the time, right? So you know, how do you cope and how do you build your resilience in moving when the cheese is moving? But one of the things you never want to forget about is why you're here, and what's important is the relationships you build with your students, the way you help them learn how to be great people. Because we're not going to remember all the content that maybe we were taught, but we will remember how to learn and to think and to be great human beings.
And a lot of the little things that get the kids through the years,
Yes.
those all go away.
They do.
And they only remember the good things.
They do remember the good things. I agree. Yeah. And, you know, that's why I've been in this field for 37 years and never had a day of regret, and, you know, love it as much today as I did the first day I got into it. And Georgetown has been, for me, a wonderful place to learn and grow, and I've met some phenomenal people, worked with some great staff and teachers, and some amazing kids. So it's important work.
It is. And on that note, thank you very much for joining
You're
us
welcome.
again.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And you'll be back. Again.
I'll come anytime you need
Thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you, Beverly.
And I'll be looking forward to a
Yeah,
tour.
let's do the tour. I'd love to do that. All right.
I'm Beverly Enos. You've just been watching Spotlight Georgetown. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us, and bye for now.